So thank you so much for inviting me here. It's actually only my second time ever visiting another church service. I actually don't, for some reason, when you're in charge of your service, you don't actually go out to any other service anytime. So it's exciting. It's also my first time giving a sermon outside of Belvedere. So I'm a little bit nervous, so bear with me. But I'm really happy to be here in the Boston community. Right now, actually, I'm leading a fundraising team of 4 high schoolers. They're out right now, fundraising. We basically took this weekend to, me and 2 other teams, to really build our foundation of faith. And that's really what I'm going to talk about to you guys, since I only can think about one thing at the same time. So can't really multitask. So, where am I? All right. So, foundation of faith. In our movement, in our church, we do fundraising, right? All of our gap year programs do it. Most of you probably spent a lot of years, many more years than you should have doing it, going out, fundraising day after day. And it's an experience, it really is. It's something that you can really go out and really have this give and take with the spirit world, with God, and it's really amazing. And so this is what I really wanted some of our youth in our community and the New Jersey community in Bridgeport to really experience this sort of relationship with God, to go out on the front line and in the freezing cold, it is a lot colder than I expected, and to fundraise and to have this laying this foundation, this foundation of faith. And we're doing this, like many of you, is to really lay that foundation so that when you do move on to the foundation of substance, when you do move on to having that relationship with people or witnessing, you will have that, or you'll have more of a foundation. You'll be able to have that connection and be able to share God's love easier and with that more of an understanding. And so I found that it's really important, and we were going to do in our sub-region 1, so I'm talent management. They just made up that role for me. In like the span of 3 weeks, I had 3 different titles, so I'm sure it'll change soon. Basically I work under Milhan and Damien, and we are trying to figure out what we really can do for our sub-region, for our area, the Northeast, and how we can really make it the best area, but also the one that really has the strongest foundation, has the most exciting activities. And we have a lot of really cool things planned for the summer, for young adults and youth, and to really lay that, and it will be really great, but to lay that foundation, we had to do something more internal. And so we went out and we did this, or we started to do this condition. And I have a quick little passage from the Divine Principle. It's a great book. First, Adam should establish the foundation of faith. The person to lay this foundation was Adam himself. The condition to establish this foundation was to keep strictly to God's commandment not to eat of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And fulfilling this condition, Adam would have passed through a set growing period, which was the time allotted for him to fulfill his portion of responsibility. This is in the introduction of the introduction to restoration. So it's basically, it starts to talk about how we can make the world a better place, right? And it begins to talk about this foundation of faith. It talks about how we have to set conditions, and through these conditions, we're able to restore the world, right? We're able to restore ourselves, or in fundraising, restore all things. And to lay a good foundation of faith, to lay a good condition, you need 3 things. You need a central figure, an object of offering, and a time period, right? And so right now, we're doing that where we have our central figure, which is ourselves, right? And they're fundraising with the object of offering is money, the symbolic of all things, and the time period is 3 days. And they're doing that, and they're going out, and we're laying that foundation. But I was thinking, fundraising, it's great. It truly is, but we can't fundraise all the time. So what can we do more at home, in our everyday life, when we're going to school, when we're going to work, when we're just going through our daily routine? What can we do to really work on our foundation of faith? And of course, the most obvious answer is do a condition, bring back the hundake, the fasting, the cold showers. I'm sure we all miss those. I had my fair share. I did SDF Europe for 2 years after high school. And it's very traditional. So yeah, we just fundraised and witnessed and did many conditions. But for most, conditions aren't something that you really look forward to. It's not something that you can have a really strong give and take with. I think a lot of, especially the younger ones, doing these 7-day fasts is not the most exciting thing in the world. And so what can we really do to basically bring or lay this foundation of faith in our lives more naturally? And so I came to my conclusion that basically what we have to do is we just have to include God more. We come into this realm of thinking that, the only time we really pray, the only time we really include God is when we're struggling, right? Or if you're a student, when you're taking a test, you didn't study, right? I have this experience many, many times. Especially this one time. So I'm basically liberal arts, humanities major. I'm studying sociology and psychology right now. And so science and math are not my strong suit. And last year when I was taking a bio course, since everyone has to take at least a science, and so I took biology for some reason. And, it comes to this test, and it's really important, and I'm not doing so hot. And I have to pass and get a good grade on this test, And so naturally I didn't study. And of course, right before I'm sitting there, and I'm like, oh no, I don't know what's going to happen. And so I pray. I asked God for help because I really needed it at that time, and I got a 92. Woo, nice. Great victory. So of course I thought, oh my gosh, me and God are like this. We're so tight right now. It's the best thing ever. And of course, it's not the case. Should study. But I realized that the reason why I did well is because just a few days before that, I really laid the foundation of faith. Basically what I did, without really thinking about it, was in one of my other classes, in medieval literature, we were talking about the concept of true love, or having someone that you love eternally for the rest of your life. And a lot of people were doubting it, like, no, this thing doesn't exist. This is not true. And so I stood up and I attested or atoned about it in my life, right? That it was something that I practiced, that it was something that I really truly believe in. And at that time I was going through the matching process, and it was something that I was, trying to live, that I would just find one person and have that relationship with that one person for the rest of my life. It was really nerve-wracking going to or standing in front of my class and saying this and talking about something that they were so sure didn't exist. And I felt at that point I could really make that connection with God. At that point, I could really stand up and be God's person. And through that, I was actually able to lay that foundation, able to really lay that foundation of faith, include God in something that maybe I didn't really think about, but I was just there attesting to him and really being, hey, this is something really cool, true love. It's great. Fight for it, guys. And through that, I was able to do a lot better in my test. At least that's the conclusion that I came to. Or I just got really lucky. And it's something that I feel we do a lot in our lives. We ignore God until the most desperate of situations, or until, maybe you're at church. Right now probably we're all thinking about God because I'm saying it. Or if we pray before our meals. But are we really thinking throughout our lives, when we're at work, when we're writing up our reports, or if we're doing our homework, are we thinking about God? Are we including God? It can even be for the more fun activities, like if you are playing a sport, or if you're, if you like art or your music, whatever you may be doing, do you include God? Do you take a moment right before you begin and be like, hey God, for this time, I want to offer you this music. I want to offer you this sport that I play a lot of frisbee, this frisbee game, right? During the workshop, some of them were talking about the demigod workshop, right? And they didn't share one activity because it's probably more difficult, and it's one I made up. And so basically they woke up at 5 a.m., yes. And they went outside and in the cold, and they were given a candle, and they had their little circle or a triangle, and they could not leave this triangle without lighting their candle. And and they didn't have a match or anything, right? And you just leave them there, and there's a team leader next to them or close by And they're waiting for basically the participants to cry out or call for God, to include God, right? To ask God for help or guidance. And many people, it took a variety of time. Some people got it really fast, other people got it really slow. But we use this activity more for a wake-up call. What do you do when you're stuck in a difficult situation? What do you do when you're outside at 5 a.m, it's cold, you're sleepy, and you have no idea why you're there? What happens? What do you think of? Do you first try to intellectually try to solve the problem? You look for the match around, or you try to pick up the cones and move them? They all tried all different things. Or do you first, emotionally tackle the situation? You start, crying out, getting angry at your team leader for putting you there. You start joking around. What do you do? And many of them realize that they don't really include God right off the bat. They don't think about including God. And it's something that, we don't do in our lives very often. We don't really think about, here I am in this situation, what do I do? Do I first, intellectually tackle it, or emotionally, or willfully? Or do we first include God and then move on? When I was 16, I found God through prayer. I had a really big experience in Texas. And from that experience, I was able to, basically my faith, and I was like, oh, God is real. And from there, I started then to work on and grow my faith. And the only way I really did that was really in my community, in just playing volleyball until 2 a.m. in the morning in our little dojo, or just hanging out, playing board games, or just going to youth group, just spending time with my friends. This is when I really felt that God had the biggest presence in my life. And I think that as you sit here in the Boston community or the outreaches, that you have to realize that you're really here for each other. And when you're building your foundation of faith, when you're building this foundation where you're trying to create these conditions in your life, that it can feel very lonely. It can feel that there is no one else, but it's just you and you're struggling, and that there is no one else around you that can really help you, that there's no one really can really guide you. They won't understand what you're going through, but I'm telling you, everyone's going through basically the exact same thing, right? When we're going through life and we're having our obstacles come in our lives, or these challenges coming into our path, or something that we have to overcome, everyone has maybe something that is different, but we all have to overcome something. We all have to challenge and break through something. And this is what building this connection with God, or building the foundation of faith, is why it's so important. So please turn to the person next to you or your neighbor and tell them that you're here for you, and that you want to be there for them, and you want to support them. All right, come on. Tell your neighbors. Very good. Nice. See, it's important to remember. It's important to realize. It's important to, just remind each other that we're there, right? It's something that many of my life experiences, or many of the things that I've gone through, I would never have been able to do without my community. I would have never been able to experience, be able to achieve victory in the end without having those people next to me. And so when we're doing I think in our foundation of faith, I write F.O.F because F.O.F is hip and it's cool. And I don't know why, actually. But I think it's more fun. So when you're really working on your F.O.F, or your foundation of faith, it can be very, lonely. And when we do these activities like fundraising, it does feel like you're alone. Like you're just thrown out there in the cold. I'm sure many of you have had that experience. And then all of a sudden you have 4 hours ahead of you, or 2 hours, or however long. You have this parking lot with people, and you have to talk to these people over and over, and you can get rejections, and people can spit in your face, and you can have really terrible experiences. And it can be very hard to keep going. But I think when then you come back to the van, or to a car or an SUV. We're driving an SUV, and you open the car, and your team leader's there, and they're like, "Oh, welcome back. Oh my gosh, I missed you. How was it?" And I think that's really what then brings the foundation of faith. That's when it really brings, like, you go out there and you're out and you can have a really good experience. Of course, you can have many great runs where you make a lot of money, or you feel God through every person, or you're able to give God's love to every person. But when you come back into the van, or you come back and you're talking to your brothers and sisters, and they share about their experiences and they support you, and they're like, "Wow, that was really tough," or "Wow, that was really amazing. You inspired me." And the team leader's like, "Don't worry. You can keep going. I understand you made nothing this run. Don't worry. Just talk to the next person. The next person can do it." And this is what I feel, it's just a very mini version of what a larger community is, what all of you are to each other, that you are all one beautiful family, and you support each other in whatever you may be doing, whether it's going to school, whether you're trying to graduate, or you're going to work, and you're here supporting each other. And I think that's really important the one thing that I really want you to remind all of you is that on this journey, or on this foundation, when you're trying to build your life of faith, or on this journey of faith, on the quest, is that you as a community, you as a family, really support each other, whether it is, just giving each other good luck, praying for each other, or when you come together for service and I know you eat lunch afterwards, that you talk to each other and ask them how your day was going, how was your week going, were you able to overcome such and such, were you able to be victorious in this manner, and through that you'll become closer and you become tighter, and hopefully we can also emulate this on a very bigger level, on the sub-region, on the northeastern level. I've not been to Massachusetts very often. I think the only times was to Gloucester, Morning Garden for a few workshops here and there. And I realize, and it's like something that I'm very used to, just having everything come to me. And in like our little area with UTS, we had Camp Sunrise, Belvedere, East Garden, like everything is where I live. And I can imagine that being further away from this tri-state area, and you can feel a little disconnected. And so hopefully, as we go on this next year, in this 2019, as the idea of this sub-region, or ideas in the Northeast, can get a little bit more, focused, and we understand more what it is, that we're able to, understand, or we're able to feel closer and really understand what we're all going through and love each other and do really amazing things together. Like whether it is different events or different activities, different workshops and camps. I have a lot of things in the point making. It's going to be fun. That hopefully all together we can really make something really great and really bright for the future. I know it's short. I like to give short sermons. I feel sometimes we do talk a lot as pastors. I realized after I gave a 30-minute sermon once and everyone fell asleep, and so I was like, no more. But anyways, if you could all join me in prayer, that would be really great. Dearest, most beloved Heavenly Parent and true parents, thank you so much for this wonderful community and how welcoming they were for me and my team. And as I was able to give this sermon and able to give, hopefully your words to them, something that can inspire them, something they can really think about for the rest, for their week. And it is a really beautiful place. It's a beautiful church, it's beautiful people, and hopefully they can really feel that as they work on their foundation, as they work on their faith, and they might be feeling lonely and they're desperate, just trying to reach out to you. And I know that you're reaching out to them, and hopefully they can support and we can support each other as we go on this journey, as we go on this path, where we want to build that relationship with you, where we want to build that relationship with true parents, with their heart, and something that we can all work on together, and something that doesn't have to be alone, doesn't have to be, it's just my faith, but it's our faith. It's all of ours. This foundation of faith is something that we can all really work on together. And hopefully through different conditions, or just, trying to include you in our everyday lives, whether it is just going to work and writing reports, or in meetings, or whether it is, going to school and listening to your teachers, that you can include you in whatever it is. And so hopefully you can enjoy and come down and bless all these people because they deserve it. And I pray this in my name and all our names here, Denthew and Yasmin, a blessed central couple, Jew. Thank you.